Many times in eFootball history, cards were released that seemed to be way ahead of their time. I'll show you 23 of them, and since it's not only about epic cards, perhaps you will find some of them in your squad. Here comes Pepe. Welcome everybody! Let's start in no particular order with one of my favorite cards ever. Player of the Week, Bernardo Silva. Honestly, when it came out, it was an epic card disguised as a Player of the Week card. In my opinion, he's one of the best dribblers, especially finesse dribblers, in the entire game. He does, just like many others, benefit from the fact that Konami balances player abilities around the overalls of their registered positions, which in his case was defensive midfielder, allowing him to be way better as a central or side midfielder. Crazy dribbling, superb passing, stamina and balance, and even incredible offensive awareness for a midfielder. While he doesn't have the best pace, he also has respectable defensive stats and alright finishing. If this card came out as a Player of the Week card now, it would easily be the best of the pack, I'm sure. But it's over a year old, yet still so useful. Crazy. By the way, if you know any card that should be on this list but isn't, let me know in the comments. The next card is one that I have considered the best card in the entire game for a long time. 2009 Messi. He was just in another world. Unmatched acceleration and speed, great on the ball, amazing finishing, even decent passing. Until this day, this single card won me more games all on its own than all other cards combined. Little height and low leg length allow his player ID to perform way above his stats. This card was the definition of a difference maker, a final boss. In my opinion, what ended his dominance and put him from completely out of this world tier to only endgame tier wasn't so much about other cards, but about the new physical system, which was a big hit for him. Not only, as I've shown in another video, are L-stick dribblings no longer as effective as before version 4, but also at only 53 physical contact, any touch can ruin his day. The next card is Manchester United's Wan-Bissaka, also well over a year old. Insane speed and defensive stats. Remember, well over a year old. Like at least half of the defenders you see today didn't even exist. Even nowadays, the speed is endgame for a defender, and apart from the defensive awareness, so are his defensive stats. Also, back then, physical wasn't as important, so you could make him even faster or better defensively. On top of that, he has maximum leg length, 14. Just like Bernardo, still on my team, both even starting at English events. Lovely card. Next up is Rafael Leao, a completely over-the-top attacker. What made him so special was not only the crazy speed and dribbling or the finishing and passing, no, the best perk was that he has phenomenal balance combined with physical contact, which is super rare. Even today, almost a year after his release, he can be considered an endgame card. I'd even say that apart from Gullit, who is just Gullit, Rafael Leao's profile has been unrivaled at what he could do for a long time. Until this very card showed up, Uli Hoeneß. Very similar profile to Leao, equally crazy. I remember when I checked out the websites for his stats before his release, I was like, no way he will have 35 levels. That must be a mistake. Turned out it wasn't. Just his stats alone make Hoeneß absolutely endgame. And on top of that, he even has Blitz Curler. He has won me many games, he's really incredible. Also speaks volumes how crazy big time Leao was that it took a card this amazing to give him a run for his money. Next up is a free epic card that was also way ahead of its time, Costa Curta. Still starting on my main team today, great player. The fact that we got him for free so long ago is wild. He was one of the best defenders. Today he might not be full endgame tier anymore due to players like Thuram or Nesta, but still he isn't too far away and undoubtedly an excellent defender. Next up is perhaps the defender who was ahead of his time most than any other defender ever, Ronald Araujo. Phenomenal speed, great aerial and physical, very good defensive stats. Released over a year ago, he was widely regarded as the best defender in the game for a long time. To put this in context, the first Thuram came out half a year later and was like the first card ever being so close to Araujo that you could argue whether he was better or not. And we all remember how nasty this Thuram was. The next card is actually a standard card, Dan Burn. Back then, at 30 33,000 GP, you got yourself a 3-star 99 rated defender that wasn't too far off epic defenders of that period. Reason why it happened was the same as with Bernardo Silva. Burn was registered and balanced as left fullback, but was just so much better as a center back. The card has been nerfed twice since then, perhaps showing that it was a bit over the top. Taking Dan Burn's story and moving to the other side of the field, we have Stefan Posch. It's almost exactly the same story. 3-star 32,000 GP right fullback balanced around this position, but excelling as a center back. The only difference is that this card wasn't nerfed quite as much as Dan Burn and at least gained some points in acceleration. Next up is No Helmet Czech. Anyone who played against him knows what I'm talking about, so we can keep this short. He has been considered the best keeper of this game for a very long time. The next card is from 2022, meaning it is 2 full years old by now. Kylian Mbappe. Very fast, great awareness and dribbling skill, over 90 finishing, he rocks. His passing and physical aren't too bad either. I will probably repeat this sentence a couple more times in this video, but if this card wasn't a player of the week pack today, 2 years later than it was released, it would probably still easily be the best card in there. That is something. The next card is the same type of card and from the same period, player of the week Modric, also 2 years old. It's pretty similar to Bernardo Silva, perhaps even ever so slightly better, and that means a lot. Bernardo is still relevant a year after his release, Modric even after 2 years. Definitely ahead of their time. Moving on, I just could not mention this card, Milan Hulit. The fact that the new recent double booster Hulit was similar to this card shows how amazing it still is despite being over a year old. Yeah, what to say. Very versatile card, can play up many positions with many different builds, aerial menace, insane physicality. He's amazing and has always been considered one of the absolute best cards in the game. The next card might be the oldest one on this list, being 2.5 years old. Legendary Pirlo. It's insane. I have the recent Italy Pirlo, and while mine is a lot better defensively, almost everything else, this Pirlo wins. And it's 2.5 years old. Imagine getting this card back then. You can easily use it even today. That's how far ahead of its time it was. We move to the next card, the second big time Messi. Monster stats, especially crazy finishing and kicking power, which is just out of this world. Very high weak foot is also a great perk of this card. The only weakness is physical contact and perhaps speed, although considering 84 speed a weakness is pretty bold. It's just not as completely bonkers as everything else here. Obviously a phenomenal card. Next up is Match Pass Zakaria. One of the best Match Pass cards ever, over a year old, works great as a defensive midfielder and also as a center back, where you can use an even more defensive build. Defensive stats are amazing, crazy physical contact, nice speed, leg length 12, nice height, amazing. Even the player of the week version of Zakaria, which is definitely worse than this, was already a force to be reckoned with. It's really rare that we get such great cards in the Match Pass, so I think it's fair to mention him. Speaking of the Match Pass, the recent Aurélien Tchouameni is definitely also among the best Match Pass cards ever. And the best thing was, you even got your coins back. Really high defensive stats, great physical contact, great speed. For a sort of free defensive midfielder, a really solid package. Having gone through Zakaria and Tchouameni, it is kinda obvious where this is going. Destroyer Vieira. Over a year old, king of the midfield for ages. Still my favorite defensive midfielder because I prefer Destroyer, although the new Vieira does have better stats. Even for people who prefer the Anchorman, for what it's worth, Vieira had a long reign, being a fearsome interceptor that nobody really liked to play against. Next up is nominating contract box-to-box Bellingham. I'm not sure if I've overlooked someone, but he might be the best nominating contract card ever. If you've seen any of my formation guides, I think he is in all of them. While he isn't really outright amazing at anything particular, he's a jack of all trades and a really good one. Great stat distribution, good both offensively and defensively, very high weak foot, decent speed, very versatile. I really like this card despite its age. The next card is also free, Bayern Musiala. Again, over a year old. Awesome dribbling, acceleration and balance, passing and speed are also nice. These stats alone made it a very valuable card for me, despite it not being amazing at finishing. Over a year ago, this was really good for a free card. Having played it myself, I can absolutely say that it feels great in-game. The next card, I wasn't quite sure if it really fits, but it was one of the first Player of the Week booster cards, Vinicius Vinicius Jr. It was pretty hype when it came out because of great speed, dribbling and finishing. Definitely one of the better Player of the Week cards and probably also ahead of its time in terms of Player of the Week players, but definitely less so compared to many other cards of this list. I guess that's fair. It would be unfair towards Bully Messi, as many call him, if he was not mentioned, so here he is. Wonderful card that got even more relevant after the introduction of the new physical system, as he easily goes over 90. It's over 90! Amazing dribbling, finishing, acceleration, balance, just a phenomenal card that was definitely also easily better than most of the other cards upon its release. The last card on the list, many are probably going to guess it, it's kinda obvious. It is Player of the Week, Richarlison. Just kidding. It's Blitz Curler, Double Booster, Messi. He's fantastic. Very fast, amazing dribbling, endgame offensive awareness and balance, excellent finishing, good passing, you name it. He also has 72 physical contact, which makes it harder for him to be pushed away as opposed to 2009 Messi's 53. Blitz Curler is only the cherry on top. I'd say it will take a while until we get another Messi that will clearly outcompete this one. That's it, folks. Let me know if you liked this video. I'd love if you subscribed, liked or commented. Until then, guys, take it easy. Shaka!